Okay, so the person I chose to research was Francis Bacon, and he was a philosophical thinker. Um, Francis Bacon was born on January 22nd, 1561 in London, England, and he lived in the mid-16th century to the early 17th century from 1561 to 1626. He ended up living till he was 65 years of age, and he was the son of Sir Nicholas Bacon, and he only had one sibling, which was a brother named Anthony Bacon. And his mother was the daughter of a great humanist named Anthony Cook, and he never ended up having any kids. Francis Bacon had many jobs before he was an Enlightenment or philosophical thinker, which had to do a lot with politics, which were a member of the Cornwall in the House of Commons. He had a position of the outer barrister. He had a place in the Parliament. He was a Solicitor General, an Attorney General. Sorry, I cannot talk. He was in the Privy Council. He was a Lord Keeper of the Great Seal, a Lord Chancellor, and then he later continued to be an Enlightenment or philosophical thinker in his later ages. He was very influential to a lot of the people around him. That encouraged a lot of the famous Enlightenment thinkers we now know today. Some special abilities that he had was that he contributed to the scientific revolution and had the scientific theory that things in science should only be done for charitable reasons in relieving mankind's misery with the invention of useful things such as medicine or things like that. He was also a creator of empiricism, which is the theory that all knowledge is derived from sense and experience. And he stimulated the rise of John Locke, George Berkeley, and David Hume. Now, I had to look up what Reverend meant because I didn't really know what it means, so I guess it's who he was influenced by, and he was influenced by Aristotle and Democritus, which were earlier Enlightenment thinkers before him. He added very, very valuable technology around the globe that many people still use today. And what was new about Francis was that he was known to be the father of modern science, which he was the first to investigate more natural ways to explaining things and believe that human needs should be satisfied with the creation of mankind technology. And he also created the theory of empiricism, which was that all knowledge is derived from sense and explanation, which kind of sounds like John Locke's theory to me, from sense and reason. But yeah. He influenced many others that made a change. And then the countries that he influenced were Edinburgh, Kilkenny, and Rington, that were all in the UK. And he lived in the UK, which was very close to France. And the Renaissance was going on at the same time as the Enlightenment thinking was going on, which all influential and had impacts on each other. And now I put Quagmire because, Quagmire from Family Guy. I didn't know what quagmires meant either, so I guess it's difficulties that he had along the way of being who he was or making impacts. And the problems or quagmires, I guess, that he had were since he tried to explain things with more of a scientific approach rather than a religious approach, it caused a lot of problems between religion and scientists, and clashes and arguments, and some caused civil wars. And he was eventually accused of being homosexual, and you'll see why later. But yeah, and Personally, I think he was a winner because he influenced some of the most famous philosophical or Enlightenment thinkers we now know today, such as John Locke, and he helped produce ideas that many people have researched and studied today, helping explain and show the truth behind things in science. But that is if someone is religious or not, or chooses to know both sides. Now, for the all 5 themes, in political, there wasn't really much of an effect, but you could count that there was civil wars that were caused between religious people and scientists that lived in the same region, and or you could say because of his job positions that he had in politics before he was focused on being a philosophical thinker. Culturally, he started to make religious people question and think twice about whether they were really like practicing the right things or knew the right things or not, and some even started to disbelieve and like unconvert, I guess you could say. In the environment, there was nothing really because he was only an Enlightenment thinker, so I mean, it really had to do a lot with social and cultural, nothing really with the environment. It didn't really do anything. And then that leaves us with social and economics. So for economics, it wasn't really a lot either because it didn't really do anything but cause clashes and wars and confusion. So, but I guess for the economic, you could say that they had to pay for the wars and damages. And he also had written a lot of books and stuff that he had sold, so that could have helped the economy, I guess. And socially, he just made people question themselves and leave their religions, and there was a lot of confusion there, so that's how he affected the 5 themes. Now, important dates that we need to remember about Francis Bacon would be when he was born in 1561. In 1584, he took a seat in the Dorsetshire, I don't know how to say it, which just shows his political and how he was involved in politics. And 1597, 1620, 1623, and 1624 were all years that he published works of his, and then of course 1626 was when he died of pneumonia. Now, Francis Bacon was from Unit 3, from the 300 years that we learned of 1450 to 1750, when all of the scientific revolution, the Enlightenment thinkers, the Renaissance, when all of that went on. And as economic, political, and social changes, the same applies to what I mentioned before in the 5 themes. In economics and political, there wasn't really a change, and social, there was just a little confusion and people leaving their religions. Now this one is kind of a fun one. Well, okay, I shouldn't say fun because it's kind of mean, but it's just really memorable. So he had a wife he started courting, in which courting is an alternative for dating. So it's like, if you were to court somebody, it basically just be like, kind of like dating them, but you're not allowed to hold hands or kiss or hug or anything. You just hang out with them and get to know each other, and it's supposedly supposed to be a way better way of getting to know somebody before you actually get serious with them, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, he was courting a girl named Elizabeth for a while, and then she ended up getting bored and married a wealthier man and dumping him. And then when he was 45 years old, he courted another woman named Alice Burnham, which is this girl right here. And he actually married her, but she later cheated on him because things got dicey when he fell into debt, and she left him. And then he was never with anybody ever again. So I mean, he was with a couple of people, or courted, and yes, I had air quotes, courted a couple of people. And that was really it. He never had any kids. He never got married again. He was never really serious with anybody. And that is why people ended up accusing him of being homosexual. Because he had never been with anybody or had any kids or anything like that. He was always just kind of alone, which is kind of really sad. So, but anyway, next. Oh yeah, the mysterious one. Okay, so what I found mysterious was that, because I looked up courting and read a little bit about it, and I guess it's part of a Christian religion, and it kind of goes with that whole idea of marriage before kids and all of that. So if it was a Christian idea to court people, then it kind of makes me question, like, was he a Christian and a philosophical thinker? Because usually scientists and philosophical or Enlightenment thinkers weren't religious. Like, they were two separate things because of the such different ways that they thought. But apparently to the courting, it was a Christian idea. I mean, so it either made me question, was he Christian and a philosophical thinker and just managed to, like, equal out both of them, or was he just a philosophical thinker and he liked the idea of courting? I don't know. It's kind of weird and mysterious to me. So yeah. I didn't find anything offensive about what I was reading about Francis Bacon. I mean, he was just an Enlightenment thinker. Didn't really offend me in any way. He was extraordinary because he introduced the scientific theory to many philosophical thinkers that's still used today and help many understand why things are the way they are. And it was basically just a different route from religion. Many early civilizations were developed on religion, and people grew knowing religion. But when Francis Bacon came in, after other Enlightenment thinkers such as Aristotle and Democritus, he went to an extent as to bringing in another factor of explanation, such as like empiricism, for people rather than religion. It was part of the scientific revolution, and he should be remembered of this because he himself, one single person, helped make a difference and helped others see things a different way by just proving theories that showed truths to many asked questions that often caused confusions, even within religions. The scientific revolution led to many ideas known today, such as rationalism, sense, experience, reason, and thought. If one single person could make this happen and help make the world we live in better through scientific theories and help people realize things and just understand things and help them not be confused, then so could anybody else. So could, like, you or I. And that was the end.